Have you ever felt your dog knew something before you did? Not just a sound or a scent, something deeper, like a storm you couldn't see. That morning, Lucy wouldn't stop barking. It wasn't like her. She was quiet by nature, the kind of dog who understood moods better than most people. She'd curl beside you when your heart was heavy, sit by the door when someone you missed was about to arrive. But today, it wasn't sadness she sensed. It was something else, something urgent. She barked at the floor, the walls, the corners of the house where nothing moved. Her whole body trembled, not from fear, but from something she couldn't explain. Her family called to her. They laughed nervously, told her to calm down. But Lucy didn't move. She just stood there, barking, eyes wide, ears alert, waiting. And then the ground began to shake. Lucy had always been a quiet dog. She didn't bark at the mailman. She didn't jump on guests. She wasn't the type to cause trouble or demand attention. But she was always there, always watching, always listening. The family adopted her when she was just a few weeks old. A tiny bundle of fur with oversized ears and eyes that seemed to understand more than they should. As the kids grew up, Lucy was always close by. She waited at the front door when they came home from school. She lay at their feet while they watched TV. When they were sick, she curled up beside them and stayed there until they felt better. Lucy had a way of knowing when something was wrong. If someone in the house was upset, Lucy would find them. She didn't try to cheer them up. She just sat close, as if to say, "I'm here." Mom noticed it first. On days when she was overwhelmed or exhausted, Lucy would quietly rest her head on her lap. No barking, no whining, just silent comfort. Even Dad, who didn't usually say much about feelings, once looked at Lucy and said, "She's got a sixth sense or something." It was a joke at the time, but there was some truth in it. Lucy wasn't just a pet. She was part of the family. She was woven into their lives in small, everyday moments, the kind most people don't even realize matter until they're gone. No one said it out loud, but they all felt it. Lucy was special, and soon she was about to prove it. It started like any other morning. The kids were getting ready for school. They ate breakfast, chatted about their day. Backpacks were tossed by the door, waiting to be grabbed. Everything felt normal. But Lucy was acting strange. She wouldn't eat. Her tail was stiff. Her ears were alert, looking in every direction. She didn't leave the youngest child's side. Every time he moved, Lucy followed. It was like she knew something was wrong. At first, the family thought maybe she was sick. But then, Lucy suddenly started barking. It wasn't her usual bark. It was loud, panicked. The family stared at her, confused. Lucy ran to the front of the house and stood there. She blocked the way, not moving. "Lucy, what's going on?" Dad asked, a little annoyed. But Lucy didn't move. She kept barking, looking toward the door. Something in her eyes made them stop. It was like she was trying to tell them something. And then, without warning, the ground started shaking. It wasn't a loud noise at first, just a deep rumble. The house shook, windows rattled, books flew off the shelves. The kids screamed. Mom grabbed the counter for support. Through it all, Lucy didn't move. She stayed right there, between the family and the door. She had known. Because of Lucy's barking, the family hadn't left for school yet. They were still at home. Usually, by this time, everyone would be out the door. But Lucy had acted so strange, barking, leading them to the hallway, that they decided to stay for a moment. They had all gathered in the hallway, staying far from the windows. away from anything that could fall. Lucy had been so insistent, and there was something in her eyes that made them listen to her. It wasn't just the normal barking. Lucy had always been calm. She never barked like that. She seemed scared, but there was something deeper to it. The front room, where they would normally stand, ready to head out the door, was the most dangerous part of the house. It was the room where heavy furniture sat, the room with the big windows. They had always gathered there before leaving for the day, without a second thought. But today, Lucy had kept them away, and the front room collapsed. Everything in that room fell apart. The walls crumbled, the ceiling cracked, bookshelves and tables tipped over, windows shattered. It was a disaster. If they had been there, if they hadn't listened to Lucy. The thought was overwhelming. They could have been trapped, injured, or worse. But they weren't there. They were safe in the hallway. Lucy had saved them. It wasn't just barking. It wasn't a random panic. Lucy had sensed it. She had known. She had been trying to protect them the whole time. And in that moment, they understood the depth of her love and loyalty. She wasn't just their dog. She was their hero. She had kept them safe, and they would never forget it. The shaking stopped. The house was damaged, but the family was safe. They were all still trying to catch their breath. The air was thick with dust, and the sound of their hearts beating was louder than anything else. Lucy was shaking. Her fur was dusty, her eyes wide with fear. But she was alive. The family gathered around her. They all kneeled down, their hands touching her fur, their tears falling. She had saved them. In the chaos of it all, Lucy had kept them together. She had kept them safe. The emergency crews arrived soon after, rushing to help. But the neighbors weren't as lucky. The destruction around them was overwhelming. But in that moment, all that mattered was Lucy. The dad, voice thick with emotion, knelt beside her. He whispered, "You saved us, girl." The kids were holding on to her, their arms wrapped around her like she was the most precious thing in the world. Lucy was their hero. She was their family. And in the midst of all the chaos, they realized just how fragile life really is, how a single moment can change everything. They didn't know what the future would hold, but they knew one thing for sure. They would never take their time together for granted again. Lucy had reminded them of the most important thing in the world, love. And with that, they held her even tighter. In the weeks that followed, the family couldn't stop talking about what Lucy had done. They shared the story with everyone, neighbors, friends, even strangers who asked how they were doing after the earthquake. They told them about the barking, the way Lucy had acted so differently that morning, how, if they hadn't listened, they might not have made it out safely. They spoke of the moment they realized Lucy wasn't just barking out of fear or anxiety. She was warning them, protecting them, and they knew now that every moment with her was precious. Every instinct she had was worth trusting. From that day on, they never ignored Lucy's instincts. Whether it was a small whimper, a sudden change in her behavior, or her watchful gaze, they paid attention. Lucy became more than just a pet. She was the heartbeat of their home, a symbol of love, loyalty, and protection. In ways they hadn't understood before, she was the silent guardian of their family, the one who always knew when they needed her most. Her actions had taught them the most important lesson of all, to trust those we love, even when it doesn't always make sense. They could never look at her the same way again. Lucy wasn't just a dog. She was family. She had shown them the depth of her love in the most incredible way possible. The family's bond grew even stronger. They held onto each other tighter. And with Lucy by their side, they knew they could face anything the future held. As the years passed, they continued to share Lucy's story. They spoke about how her love had saved them, how she had shown them what real courage looked like. Lucy had become their hero, and in their eyes, she was more than special. She was extraordinary. Sometimes the loudest warnings come from the quietest hearts, and sometimes those hearts have 4 legs and a tail. Dogs truly are the most loyal companions in our lives. What did you think of this heartwarming story? Let us know in the comments. Like the video and share it with your friends. Subscribe to our channel for daily emotional dog stories. Turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Click here to watch the next story of love, loyalty, and the incredible bond we share with our Paw friends.